All right, as promised, let's bring in Carol Leonnig, managing editor. She's senior investigative reporter, also managing editor at The Bulwark and MS Now contributor Sam Simon. I'm giving your title, Sam, along with staff writer at The Atlantic and MS Now contributor Mark Leibovich. We have James and Lisa standing by, along with Mike Madrid, who is here as well. All right, Carol, not to give you a new job. We like you here at MS Now. Please don't go anywhere. Give us your reporting, your details on this Newsom investigation.
I can't help but grin since Sam and I are friends and neighbors, and he keeps trying to hire me. But okay, back to news. I just want to be clear that we have some interesting context and news here, but we are still trying to confirm all the boundaries of it as we go. First off, I want to say that we have from sources two really important nuggets. One is that the Central District of California, the U.S. District Attorney's Office in the Central District has been pressing the line prosecutors to come up with a case against Gavin Newsom. However, a source tells us that the prosecutors and investigators that have been contacting Newsom are actually based out of Sacramento in what's called the Eastern District of California. And there was an investigation of a staffer of Gavin Newsom's that was based out of that office, or if not led by that office. And now we are hearing again from one source with some reliable information that this is the office that Newsom is referring to, although he may not know it, that the investigators who have been contacting family and friends are based out of that office.
That is interesting context. When you consider that, Mark Leibovich, and you consider what this administration wants, it should be, I guess, not surprising that Gavin Newsom would pop up here, or even his wife?
No, I mean, I'm surprised it's taken this long. I mean, this is kind of a more sort of Justice Department focused attack on him, and the kind of abuse he's been ladling out for Newsom and other people for a long time now. I mean, the question is he just doing it just to chill Newsom, other people who might cross Trump? We've seen that movie before, but also you have to ask. I mean, this as we've seen can only benefit Gavin Newsom politically in the Democratic Party. As you've mentioned, he's obviously his esteem has raised a great deal because of his back and forth with Trump. He's been sort of the chief resistor, obviously governor of a big state, but his stature has been enhanced a great deal by becoming a foil to Donald Trump. So, I mean, again, does this just sort of perpetuate that? Does that bring that back to the forefront at a time when Newsom is trying to raise his profile and run for president? Or is this just something that's been sort of on the to-do list of the Trump White House and it'll fizzle out, but, not before a great deal of sort of pain and nuisance and harassment befalls the family?
Sam, what do you think of that? Does it backfire?
I guess it all comes down to how real it is, right? I mean, we've been kind of dancing around mainly because we don't have any real substance on what's going on here, but we've been dancing around the context. And I think it's fair to point out that there's been many instances now at this point where the Trump DOJ has gone willingly after perceived opponents of the president. And there have been many instances where it has backfired. You can even look at Mark Kelly, for instance, as a good template for this. It wasn't the DOJ in that case, but Pete Hegseth, who went after him and others for a fairly anodyne video that they put out saying that service members should be reminded that they don't have to follow unconstitutional orders. They went after Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly's fundraising just absolutely skyrocketed. He's now considered a potential 2028 candidate, as is Newsom. So yes, this does have the capacity to backfire. I would just add, as I've been listening to this conversation, there is a bit of context that I think is getting underappreciated, but maybe we don't know if it's related or not, but I think it's worth pointing out, which is that Todd Blanche is currently nominated to serve as Attorney General. He's in the acting capacity right now, and his confirmation hearings are supposedly coming up fairly soon. Blanche, does need to make sure that he ingratiates himself well enough with the person that matters most in this case, which is Donald Trump. We do know from reporting that Donald Trump was not particularly happy with the predecessor in that role, Pam Bondi, because precisely she did not bring charges aggressively enough against people that he thought had undermined him or been perceived enemies of him. Blanche wants to get in Trump's good graces. Blanche is obviously overseeing the Justice Department, wants the job permanently. I think those two nuggets, the timing of the investigation and the timing of Blanche's confirmation hearings, do need to be noted, even if they are, causal and, or correlation. Yeah. We just don't know.
I think that's important to note as well. Carol, what about that? I mean, what has Blanche so far done to earn Donald Trump's favor?
Well, it started with his news conference in which he said that if they ended up not agreeing that he should be Attorney General, he would still say, "Thank you and I love you, sir." So he pretty strong views on fealty. He's also, pretty quickly come after some of the folks that are in that target list. Not with great success yet, but remember, Pam Bondi did not think the so-called seashells in the beach case was really worth pursuing. It was not her top priority. She thought it was a weak case based on deputies around her giving her that counsel. But, days after Bondi was out of the door and Todd Blanche had the chance to become the leading contender to be the Attorney General, all of a sudden that case got sort of hot-wired, and a grand jury was presented with the information to suggest that the former FBI director had somehow threatened the life in some violent way of the president by posting a picture of some seashells that spelled out 8647. And Katie, I think it's worth underlining something Sam said, and not just because I'm a friend and fan, but what I said at the beginning of the hour, the beginning of the show about the Central District of California, the top political ally of Trump there, and who runs that office, acting, if you will, as the U.S. Attorney, Bill Essayli. Sources have told us that he was pressing for weeks for his line attorneys to basically bring Gavin Newsom, bring him a criminal investigation or criminal case against Gavin Newsom. That is not how the Department of Justice works. That is against the manual, the protocol, the regulations in some cases. The Department of Justice and the FBI have strict rules about when you open an investigation. It's based on evidence and a reasonable, articulable basis to believe a crime has occurred. Evidence of a crime is where you start, not with a dartboard of people who Donald Trump doesn't like. Yeah, and that is the worry in that office.
We can put up the dartboard right now. We have a graphic of it. Just all of the people that Donald Trump's DOJ has open investigations into. I mean, look at these folks. You have John Brennan, Letitia James, Lisa Cook, James Comey, E. Jean Carroll, George Soros, Fani Willis, John Bolton, Christopher Krebs, Miles Taylor, Jack Smith, Cassidy Hutchinson, Jerome Powell, Adam Schiff. What do they all have in common? I mean, it is remarkable. The idea that they would all just be suddenly investigated for crimes or wrongdoing out of nowhere is extraordinarily hard to swallow. By the way, I will also mention Jay Clayton, who is Donald Trump's nominee to be DNI. When we're talking about hoops you have to jump through to get Donald Trump's favor, he's out there saying that the California vote count is suspicious. So that's another one of those scenarios. All right, everybody, thank you very much.